Prescription again varies from age group to age group. You would be already knowing that. We cannot give the same amount of medicine to a 25-year-old and to a 65-year-old. So it varies. So that's where the prescription model, once you feed them based on the age and age group, then the AI can predict and then recommend that. For example, again, to the AI you can feed all these information, all the medicinal plants and medicinal information, and then medicines, and then patient related information, diseases, and then what causes the disease, and the symptoms for each of those diseases can be fed into the AI, and then what is the treatment protocol you follow for them. So what is the treatment protocol you follow them, whether it is going to be an external application of medicine or it is going to be internal medicine. All the details will go into the AI, and then what kind of a lifestyle changes you wanted to recommend for that particular disease, and different kinds of treatment methodologies and models which you will adopt for them. So these data, all of them, for all kind of data, if you go into an AI model, then the AI model already self-learned. So we call it the supervised and unsupervised algorithms in AI. So once you make it to learn the AI, this models is not like something Greek or anything. The AI models can be built by everyone who is sitting here. So I think that's what the intention is here as well. You can build the AI models, or you can assist to build the AI model, or you can do it as a group work. All that can be done. So once you can pick up one single AI model called drug recommendation system or a traditional medicine recommendation system. So for that you need to give all those inputs to it. Once you provide those inputs, it is self-sustained and then it can recommend you accordingly. And then that's where we are talking about the drug development in Ayurveda. It can be efficiently done. And we also know that there are a lot of heavy metals, it could be mercury or lead or whatever, in medicines will be catastrophic for the patients. So it can avoid that, even based on that composition from the prescriptions which has been written hundreds of, maybe thousands of years ago. Was it the right recommendations? It can really check and suggest you in the form of positivity, right? So in terms of enhancing your prescription, or you can alter your prescriptions. So those kind of thing it can recommend, and then it can suggest to improvise your drugs. And similarly, once you have this drugs, once you have the patient information, all that available, you can build a relationship map. For example, if this kind of age group, if they go through a problem on the backbone system, or maybe L2, L3, any one of them on the backbone system has a problem, how you can serve them, help them, what kind of treatment you need to apply it. It can give a kind of a graphical relationship, so that you can follow those relationships. We apply something called a decision tree model in AI. So these models are unique and different for the different kinds and different purposes. For the purpose of just understanding, decision tree helps you to make your decisions appropriately based on whether the patient has X problem or Y problem. If it is X, then go through this particular way of treatment. Those kind of recommendations, it can provide that. And then it also can relate your genes and the symptoms and sicknesses in people, and then all those treatments can be built to help to build your knowledge graphs. So this is a overall picture of how we can enhance data richness in UI, in the area of traditional medicine, in the area of how we can do the data mining. So data mining, again, one more important thing is we have seen multiple for example, when you're getting a lot of existing customer or the patient information, it will have a lot of missing information also. For example, the name will be there, age will be there, but the weight will not be there, height will not be there. Are they having diabetic? Or they have pressure? So some of the information will be there, some of the information will not be there. This AI also helps you to fill that missing information. That's what we call as impute functionality. So impute is nothing but it can statistically calculate those missing parameters and then populate them. We call it as a pre-processing or a cleansing process. During the pre-processing stage, you make the data available as worthy of consuming it. The consumption, before consumption, it validates. AI does those part as well. So it can pre-populate and it actually intelligently calculates the missing information. So that missing information also can be populated using UAA. Assuming that there are about thousands of patient records, there are hundreds of patients doesn't have some information available. It can pre-populate them and then build them accordingly. Similarly, it can extrapolate and recommend. When I say recommend, it can recommend this person, if he goes through some kind of a physiotherapy treatment, that's good enough for them to recover. Or you give only some external applications of maybe some applying some medicine on their body part and then rubbing them, that will cure them. Some of them might need to go through some drugs intake for about 30 days or 60 days to cure that. And then it can also continuously observe them how they are progressing. The AI can, because the data is available, what the progression they are making. If you have all those records of what is their, in terms of improvements records, if you feed them into the AI, it will look at it whether the particular patient is improving or not improving. Externally, they might appear to be improving but may not be. So those kind of insights also AI can bring it up here. And one other thing, maybe next slide. Can you move on to the next slide? AI for Ayurveda. Next slide. Okay, thank you. So AI plays a major role in traditional medicine. If you look at it, all the herbs, I think, Professor Ilanjalin was talking about the lens, was using of lens, right? Google Lens to find out what is that herb is. Actually, screening of herbs can be done through this AI. And for example, there are, assuming that you are taking one herb, I'll take the same neem or tulasi, right? So, is it a good one or a bad one or a very good one? So, those screening can be done by AI. Only when it is very good, it can consume them. Remaining batches, it can reject them. I think that's one of the part which it can do it. So you don't need a human intervention on that. So when you collect large volume of such leaves and then medicinal, any element, right? So it can do that. Similarly, it can also find some alternate to a leaf. For example, if one leaf which you use for formation of a drug, which is not available or not qualitative. So in that case, it can recommend what could be another alternate for that. The reason it could reject is because of heavy metal, or it could be the quality is not good. So that can be done. And then it also can do because all these leaves and the plant extracts are all chemical compounds. So the chemical compound information is known to this particular AI model. That way it can recommend. That's where I am talking about, this is almost like a personal assistant to the doctor or whoever is a health worker who is working on that. So they can use this AI to make a lot of decisions based on that, whether to use that particular set of or the set of element whatever is coming in. And then we also have, you can validate whether that particular data set is correct or not. For example, some of them will have the right information and some of them might appear to be correct, but when you actually process them, after post-processing it might not be good, adequate enough, because it doesn't meet those prescribed parameters. So in that point of time also you can reject them. And then the second and important thing is AI-based assistive diagnostic model. Is basically it's a clinical data, right? So based on weight and then the diabetic information, pressure information, or the scan related translated information, because even the scans can be converted into available or consumable records. So those records can be brought in by this AI assistive diagnostic model, and then decision can be taken for multiple post validation or post verification of the patient's clinical record. It can recommend what kind of treatment or what kind of a treatment, how long it has to be done. Those recommendations it can do that, and it can support a whole generation of pharmacological databases as well. And then I've seen that actually there are a lot of disease diagnostics in Ayurveda through AI is already available. For example, some of those dosha evaluation and prakriti assessment, various other aspects. And then how it can also assist on Ayurveda physicians. Physician, I mean everybody, right? All the health workers. Appropriate evaluation of clinical information, whether the clinical information is right, wrong, or is it something. We also talk about bias, right? So some of the health information which might give you bias towards the patient. So that it can, AA can find it out. AA can find out saying that, hey, this is not definitely a problem. Some kind of small lifestyle changes can alter them and then help them to modify. And then similarly, accurate diagnostic and treatment suggestions. So it can recommend what kind of treatment you can do that. For example, if the diagnostic information is coming handy to you, a doctor, because when you treat a patient, you might not have much time to talk to them. It might be 10 minutes, 5 minutes. So within that 5 minutes, you will not be able to get all the past 20 years of clinical information. But when the AA is there, AA can actually go through the 20 years of medical records and give you essence of that or give summary of that, saying that this patient has gone through this surgery in the past, this patient has gone through this treatments, and then this is where he has got some failures. So why there were no improvement in the last 20 years. Those kind of summary it can give you, both by comparing the medical records, medical treatment records, and then the physical parameters, the vitals. All that it can refer and then suggest you the treatment mechanisms, so that you can go ahead and then do very effective screening and very effective recommendations. And there are also a lot of ample repository of information available currently. We have seen that, I think in India, Ayurvedic repository of information is quite handy. I could go through a lot of things like your Dhara, Ayush research portal, through Rudra program, Oisoft, multiple things. I think I just quoted very few here. There are so many things which you can refer them as well. And the thing is, I think, maybe you can go to the next slide, how it can assist doctors from a AA way. Can you move on to the next slide? Okay. Okay, I think first part we already covered. The automatic recognition classification of plant leaves. So this is where we are talking about the whatever model you are seeing here, artificial neural network or k-nearest network or decision tree. These models helps to automatically recognize the plant leaves. I think these models are already available. You don't need to really develop them. Some of the models are available open source. When I say open source, anybody can subscribe to it or download them, make use of it. And you can perfect them according to your needs. And similarly, there is a lot of identification of Ayurvedic medicinal plant species using deep learning techniques and image processing. Once the image processing scans those leaves or whatever the trunks of those medicinal plants and the various forms, right? So it can actually look at them, scan them, and then learn them and then suggest you what kind of area you can do that. It can do a botanical level research or a forest level research can be done using these mechanisms. And then you can also use robotics in terms of patient monitoring during the time of or during the course of treatment or post-treatment. You can do those aspects. And this is again help you to do the remote support. If assuming that the patient is sitting hundreds of miles away, you can talk to them and then help them to recover or recommend some kind of medicine so that they can avail that. And then we can also do the DNA fingerprinting. Prakriti uses most of that, right? So some of these wearable gadgets you already seen that, including the pulse monitoring, including your oxygen levels and multiple things. So all these wearable gadgets can send data back into a central repository. So those data will become much more informative and then useful for your usage for these aspects. And then see overall if you look at it, I think detecting the diseases and then prescription and then treatment plan, post-treatment plan. It cut across all these areas. So this is where even some of these pandemics, epidemics which breaks out, including COVID and other things, the AI can predict when this can happen. Even you would have heard some other places that there might be another pandemic in the near future, right? So how does it do? Actually, it predicts based on what's happening in the parts of China, what's happening in the part of other regions like Africa and so on. So it actually observes what kind of a viral diseases growing in those regions and recommend them so that the entire fraternity of health can be prepared, and then so that you can really avoid any of those pandemic and epidemic diseases. Okay, so where and how to begin AI? I think there are multiple things you can build. I think I talked about a couple of models. For one example, is mining of drug information, right? It is there in multiple databases. How you can do that by yourself? You can do it yourself by building small AI model to begin with. So the building up, we have seen doctors sitting and doing programming in Python, and we are actually enhancing them, recommending them to do that. Because when they work on the model, they know the power of that. So they are the one who actually can make it perfect. All these AI models cannot be fruitful on the day one. It will require a lot of learning, because as I mentioned, the more you feed, it becomes more knowledgeable. So that's why we have something, whenever you say example, 1,000 samples of patient information you want to feed to the AI model. You take 1/10, which is basically 100 patient record, you divide them and keep it separately, call that training data. The remaining 900 you keep it separately. You train them using that 100 patients records, so that it knows in terms of a patient who is basically they don't have any problem, any diseases, and you also have people who are having diseases, will have troubles. So you feed all of them, so that it learns from multiple samples and kinds, even multiple age groups. So it learns from that, and then it applies on the remaining 900 patient records and recommends you what is that to be done for them in terms of, could be a treatment plan or it could be recommendation of drugs. And some of these programs which I talked about, Udemy is one of the online courses which helps you to learn. There are a lot of programs available. Some of them, few of them are free, some of them are very less economical, even to the tune of less than 1,000 rupees. You can register yourself to learn Python and then data science related areas. And then most of these data science or the AI algorithms are all statistical modeling based. So it is not by any magic or anything. It has all been proven statistical modeling behind the scene or powering them. So that's where it helps you. Any of you professionals can learn that faster, because you all would have studied mathematics and statistics as part of your academic curriculum. So you can enhance them and then adopt them. And there are also, you don't need to really develop in a environment or build a development environment. There are development environment available in the form of Google Colab and Kaggle, Jupyter, right? So I've just given the link to you also. So these are all the Colab available where you can download some of the model, build those models, take small steps to do that. And then this is where actually the power of the AI comes into the picture. And then there is nothing like you're going to make a mistake or anything. Whatever you try will bring fruitful results. Sometimes it might be, again, Python is one of the easiest language to learn, easiest programming language to learn. And it is not very long in terms of, the entire long structure. When you program it, it is simpler English-like structure. And then once you start doing that, there are a lot of pre-built libraries, functions available. So Jensen Huang was saying that artificial presents a great chance, and this is India's moment. You have to seize the opportunity across all the industries. I think this is a very powerful statement he has made when our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited US this time, few days ago, right? So I think that's where the strong statement, I think the technologists believe that it cut across all the industries, all the healthcare sector and every areas. And even the adoption of AI in irrigation has been much more penetrated so far. And the countries like Israel, capitalizing and mobilizing that to the maximum. Humanless irrigational system, humanless, pesticide, and then all those have been done by them. So this is a movement, and then India is a movement. And one other thing which he has also mentioned, Mr. Jensen Huang, was the Indian AI scientists. He has not mentioned about Indian engineers. Indian scientists, because he is referring to all, Ayurveda doctors and then students, and then all others. Because the scientists, he referred them to scientists, AI scientists. We can accomplish this as a group. I think with that note, I urge you all to contribute, spend some time on this and study them, deep dive into this, how you can apply in your workplaces during your college days itself, so that it will be more fruitful. Thank you. I'll stop here. Any questions and answers? If you have any questions, would like to answer them. Yeah. So the fingerprints, if a human print, see for example, your fingerprint and my fingerprint will be completely different. So fingerprints, there is an anatomy saying, talking about a fingerprint can say that, can determine the health condition of the particular individual and their life patterns. And it can also say that, I think that is a kind of learnings which I heard from some of the doctors, right? So by looking at that, it can also recommend that, saying that you can, your lifestyle or your way of your living, your likings also will be based on that. So this is where the DNA fingerprints can interpret them. So that's a knowledge.
How can we find a person's whether they like or dislike, and what type of environment they're living based on their DNA, sir?
See, all these models, the AI models cannot be 100% accurate. So that we need to know first of all. The accuracy will improvise only after it starts seeing multiple data fed in. So this can actually, look at it, and then for example, you take 100 people DNA samples or the fingerprint samples, right? It can give you correlated view of what all, like for example, it can divide them into 3 groups or 4 groups. These 3 groups will have the similar likings and patterns. For example, the colors which you like, maybe the similar kind of person also will have the same color liking. So that is what it actually does, that kind of prediction based on the large sample data. Maybe I'll also ask, some of the doctors, you have any answers to that question?